All right, folks, welcome to episode 28 of Ask Evelyn. We hope that you are all joining us for our new time Wednesdays at 1:30. Thanks for being flexible. And I hope you guys managed to find us. And if not, we will be here Wednesdays 1:30 moving forward. So this is, of course, Ask Evelyn, and where we answer your questions about garbage, recycling, compost, and other trashy topics. And I am Becca Fong, and I work for Seattle Public Utilities, and I do the solid waste outreach. I'm the lady that sends you the flyers in the mail with all of the cool sorts. Many weeks, not every week. We had one by, but he is going to be logging on really quickly. Is going to be introducing himself here really quickly. All right. Ooh, outside.
Hey.
So that's fantastic. It looks great where you are.
Yeah.
So, all right. Here's my co-host. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
It's a beautiful day in Ballard. I'm Pat Kaufman. I'm a recycling program manager for the commercial sector in Seattle. I work with businesses, helping them recycle and compost. So yeah, happy to be here.
All right, man, I want some of that sunshine. It is, the weather's been changing quite a bit, and it's pretty gray where I am. So glad that you can share it with us, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
All right. So all of you who have joined us, as you know, this show is run on your questions. And every week we get fantastic questions to us from the Ask Evelyn email box. You can always send those to us, askevelyn@seattle.gov, or you can also send us a note in our various social media channels. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and of course, Instagram. So keep them coming, people. There's always really cool and exciting things. So this month we are talking about compost, and our two questions actually were kind of a little bit different, but we will definitely get back to compost in our weekly waste challenge.
Yeah.
So for our question this week, this one was actually a really good one as the weather changes. I'm thinking that that's why we got this great letter. So Pat, kick us off.
Sure. I'll read the first question here. So it's hi. I have an air conditioning unit to get rid of. I live in an apartment building, and I'm not sure what my options are. Also, what happens to it? Does it get recycled or is it trash? Thanks, Katie. So that's a good question, Katie. And, air conditioning units they're an appliance, and we talk about appliances off and on. There are different types of appliances. Some appliances have more concerns from a waste management perspective. Air conditioning units, like refrigerators, have refrigerant, gas type material that's inside the, somewhere in there, I don't know, inside the air conditioner.
Within the coil.
And somewhere in there's a little tank, and it holds gas, and it makes it work. And so anyway, proper handling of that has to be done by a special facility. And so when we take refrigerators and air conditioning units back at the transfer stations, there's a charge for that because it does have different handling. You can also get them picked up on the Beyond the Curb, right, program, where you can order that, request that, and that will be picked up on your collection date. So there's a couple options there.
Yeah, definitely. And for special ed, and I think, Pat, you teed it up really well. It's one of those things that a lot of that stuff that we pick up is recycled. And you think about any kind of appliance, the microwave. And, there's a lot of metal in that. There's, of course, circuit boards that you want to be able to reclaim that material. And with things that have refrigerant in them, certainly like big refrigerators, air conditioners are mostly plastic. There is some metal and other parts in there that we would be able to reclaim for recycling. But it really is that refrigerant that's in that appliance that needs to be handled properly. So, a long time ago, you guys may have heard of CFCs, chlorinated fluorocarbons. And those are no longer in newer appliances, but now they have HFCs, which are also, they are not quite as damaging as a greenhouse gas, but still are a greenhouse gas. And so, exactly. And so when we're recycling those materials, what we do is we capture that material, gets captured and not released into the atmosphere. So we got enough greenhouse gas going on out there. We don't need any more contributed from appliances that are being discarded improperly. So, and I think you were saying that when they capture that refrigerant, that actually gets reused.
Oh yeah, there's a secondary market for this gas. It's a valuable commodity that has other uses, probably as refrigerant in other devices or services or functions. I mean, there's different ways. And then the unit itself, that AC unit that somebody has in one, it'll just be treated like another appliance at that point. It'll be scrapped out, and the plastic will go to waste, and all the metal components will be shredded up and go through the metal recycling process. So once they remove that, though, and it's actually really well managed. It's funny, the refrigerator capture rate is super high because the gas is in, right? I mean, so like we're getting all the refrigerators into the metal recycling process, whereas some people will throw away a microwave or throw away a clothes dryer or something like that. And they'll just tip it off, when, you don't see it or know what's going on at the dump or the transfer station. So, but yeah, refrigerators and air conditioning units, they're very well recycled because they're cared for the gas. Then they're right there at the facility. So they, of course, get highest value for the metal they can. So it's all shredded out.
Definitely. And I think one other component that Katie had written in her letter to us was that she lives in an apartment. So the special item pickup is, seattle.gov/special items. And we pick up all kinds of things, free foam we've talked about on this program, batteries, bulbs for a $5 fee. There's all kinds of things we'll pick up. For the AC units, if you live in an apartment, you need to work with your property manager. This is like kind of a small nuance, but an important one, that if you're scheduling, it needs to be done by the account holder because the cost of that pickup is going to go onto the monthly solid waste bill. So you need to make sure that, Katie, you need to get in touch with your property manager, your landlord, and make sure that they can schedule that pickup for you. So it'll be under $38. Again, it can be confused with small appliances, but because of the HFCs in it, it needs to be disposed of properly. So that's kind of option one for special item pickup. Option two is to take it to the transfer station. And so there's a minimum load to take something to the transfer station. And so your cost will be $31 to dispose of that.
Right.
So, at that point, you might as well buddy up with some other folks and see if anybody else has stuff that's going to the transfer station and then make the most of that load, which would be great.
Right. So they also would want to, if there's any components on it that like the cords and things, they take care of all that. If there's anything that comes with it, it just can go with it. There used to be a time when we would ask that the doors on refrigerators be removed. That was a thing. I don't know if you remember that, but it's not a requirement anymore. You can keep the doors on. The doors are not. It used to be those old clasp doors that would close the unit, and so that's not an issue anymore.
Yeah. Definitely. So you've got a couple of options, and thank you for writing into us, Katie, because it is kind of a hard thing to get rid of and you want to do the right thing. And thank you so much for writing into us. And we hope that you had you got some good ideas of how to get rid of your AC unit. And as it's getting colder, everyone's thinking like, maybe it's time. So I think a lot of you hopefully watching either live or on our recorded video are kind of thinking about some of those things.
Right.
So another really common topic with the change of seasons, our second question.
Oh yeah.
And we've got some good links too for those of you who want to nerd out about CFCs and HFCs, because I had a really good time learning more and more about those. So we'll have those in the show comments. But question two, so this one came to us from Marcus and it said, "Hi, I just moved into a new place and I've got a lot of cardboard boxes to get rid of. Is there a limit on how much extra recycling can go out with my cart?" So the short answer, Marcus, is no, there is no limit on what can go out. I think that the main thing to do is if you do have extra cardboard, you want to make sure that it's flattened. You remove any of the packing material, so styrofoam, bubble wrap, anything that is not cardboard or paper, and you want to bundle it into a box. So I brought a nice little visual.
Nice, great example.
You want to just jam it all in there. And there's a couple of reasons to do this. One, you want to just be nice to your driver. Your driver's out there picking up hundreds of houses. And when they come by, it's much easier for them to just pick this up if it's all bundled together. And flattening the cardboard just makes a whole bunch more room. It makes it easier for everybody, especially in the time of COVID, being really aware that the drivers aren't going to have to handle a whole bunch of material. The kind of like bundled amounts that you can make, the easier it's going to be for them and the more likely they are to pick up all that extra recycling, because it is a lot. It's a lot, especially after moving. If you could stagger it, that would be great, but there is technically no limit how much you can put out.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say one other thing is, as it's starting to rain, this happened to me last week when I was putting out my recycling, is that, I tend to put my carts out the night before, but if it's pouring rain will ruin your cardboard.
Right.
And, Pat, you've talked about this a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
the empty, clean, dry messaging we use for Recycle Right. I mean, Recycle Right is our regional message that we're telling everybody, empty, clean, and dry for your recyclables. Well, the dry part has a lot to do with collection day. It's like, or collection, during the week, don't leave your lid open all week. I mean, we don't want rainwater, especially this time of year. It rains so much on Sunday night that if people put their cardboard out Sunday night for a Monday pickup, that would just be a mess. But the drivers are great. I got to hats off to the drivers. They do a great job. Flattening the cardboard, the other thing about that is it actually forces us as consumers to make sure there's not like a foam
Right.
piece in there or a bunch of bubble wrap
Exactly.
stuff. They don't. The recyclers don't want that. They want the
Yeah.
cardboard and just the
Yes.
cardboard. So, by flattening your cardboard, you're kind of quality control checking your material a little bit before you set it out. So it's definitely consider it for the driver, consider it for the recycling sorting facility as well.
Totally. So for me, like my tip, Marcus, is that I kind of have the boxes all bundled kind of right by the door. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, right, okay, I'm going to go get my shoes on and I'm going to go take that out and put it next to my cart. So
Nice.
it's out before 7. So that's a good tip. The other thing that I see a lot on my social feeds is because people are moving, right? A lot of people are moving. It kind of blows my mind how many people are moving. But good on you guys. I hope you're in some new fantastic digs. But I see people asking for boxes, they're in search of boxes, and people who are given boxes. And I see that trade happening a lot on like my neighborhood groups, on Buy Nothing groups. There's always folks that are going to need those, and so I would encourage you, Marcus, if you can post those somewhere for other people to come by and pick them up. A lot of folks I've seen are like, I got tons for you. I'll put them out, PM me for my address, and just come get them. So,
well, like on Craigslist, on the free button on Craigslist, you have all those things you look at on Craigslist, and there's a free one, and they pop up there all the time because I look at that every now and then. And moving boxes, 20 moving boxes, brand new, used once, flattened, and people will just put their address like it's up there on the porch. You don't have to call me.
Exactly.
Just serve. I'll remove the post when they're gone. So it's not that hard to post things for reuse. It's just you just have to do it. Maybe you don't even have to take a picture of moving boxes. You can just say moving boxes.
Like they're cardboard boxes.
If you can take a photo so people can kind of see the condition or whatever, then that's good. But I think Freecycle, Craigslist, OfferUp, there's definitely options in addition to the Facebook groups and other things like that.
Totally. If you're not on one of those platforms, absolutely. There's lots of options. So thanks for your question, Marcus. I think that's really good. And especially as people are moving, we're moving into the wet season, and just understanding how to set out your extras is really important. I also wanted to add one more tip about, we do have a really great post up on our blog that we'll put a link to in our show notes, just about extras in general. When you're moving, you kind of look at all your stuff. If you have extra garbage, you can set garbage out on collection day. That is about, I think it's $12.35 for an extra bag. Yard waste as well. Though free yard waste is coming up here in November. We'll talk a little bit about that in probably a future show this month. And, there's just a lot of options for you. So we want to make sure.
I would say a couple more quick things about the moving stuff. So one is like where you put it should be next to your recycle cart. They're not all blue. They're becoming more and more blue all the time as people change out their carts and stuff. But there's some green ones out there. But the point is the recycle cart. You should lean your boxes next to that because you don't want the yard waste cart driver to have to deal with a bunch of boxes falling to the ground as he goes to move that. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is like we talked about for a little bit there, like what's in the boxes. You can put for reuse the bubble wrap too. I mean, all this like the paper wrap, like, when we were kids, getting bubble wrap was like, I don't know, it was like a special occasion. Like it was like going out for ice cream or something. I mean, where everybody got to pop it a little bit.
I know.
Now it's just so commonplace. Bubble wrap's everywhere now. It's not even special to my kids. They're like, what am I supposed to do with this? You're supposed to play with it for 20 minutes. What do you mean? I mean, it's bubble wrap,
I know.
It doesn't.
My kids still love bubble wrap, Pat. Don't worry. They're still
it's not the same currency as when I was a kid, though.
They think it's great.
Right, but it's totally reusable is what I'm saying. If you don't let the kids pop it all, it's totally reusable and valuable and should be reused and offered up as well.
Yeah, I think that's just a good way to think about it. It's like all those things that you needed really eminently for when you were moving, the packing paper, the foam, the bubble wrap, all those things. Someone else is moving in another couple of weeks. They're going to need all those things too. So definitely kind of keep that going. Best and highest use, right, Pat?
That's right.
For sure.
Highest and best use, for sure.
Totally. Well, awesome, you guys. Please send us more questions. Those are fantastic ones, Katie and Marcus. Thank you. So, all right, now we are at the point in our show where we talk about the weekly waste challenge. So now we're kind of getting back to our monthly theme of compost more. And last week's weekly waste challenge was really fun. It was essentially like food waste prevention tips. And we have talked a lot about that on this show. But we really wanted to talk about, how to kind of shop your pantry, shop your fridge, shop your cupboards, and how to make the most of those kind of odds and ends that sometimes end up getting discarded or like stuffed into the back of the pantry for a really long time. So I don't know, Pat, what did you work on this week?
Well, what I found, I do this a little bit off and on just because I see like partial containers of things here and there. And I'm kind of I'll mix to make a meal. I'll combine stuff sometimes and just, so what I made was I just shopped my cupboard for a pasta meal, and I just mixed, the bow tie and the penne and the ziti and spaghetti or whatever. I just had like 4 or 5 different types of pasta that were like portions, and just made a pasta dish. I know that's not a big deal. It's not huge waste prevention, but sometimes if you leave things that are just partial, like a little box of crackers or whatever,
Right.
you leave them for too long, then they get stale, and then nobody wants to eat it. So it's like taking a meal out of the week and making it your clean up the cupboards or clean out the back of the fridge.
Totally.
Meals. Like, just sometimes, function of consumption of, it's not, every meal doesn't have to be super yummy,
Right.
You just get through a day and have some food. And if it has to be that, then do that, is what I would say. So that's what I ended up doing. I actually opened a fresh jar of pasta sauce. So it wasn't a horrible meal. It was pretty good. But even with all the tomatoes we have, I opened a jar of pasta sauce. But, it's just how it worked out. So
totally. That's awesome. Pat, I do have to say, in your background, there's a chicken, and there was
a cat,
which totally makes me want to be in your backyard.
I let the girls out. That's the first, they're making a little, that's great. They go for the sunshine, they love the sunshine.
Who doesn't, right?
Yeah,
Who doesn't
exactly. That's why I'm out here.
I know, right? So a couple of tips that I wanted to highlight that I've shared before too is that I've talked about breakfast surprise, where you literally go into the refrigerator and you look at maybe like a handful of leftovers from the night before. You didn't want to throw it out. Nobody wanted to eat it right away. And I'll kind of heat that all up together. Like I've had rice with baked beans, and then, like maybe some stir-fried vegetables as breakfast with a fried egg on top, right?
Fried egg, maybe a little cheese on top for good. Yeah.
That's really good. And then on Fridays, we would usually do kind of a leftover roundup too in the refrigerator, and just see like, okay, everybody like these meals. Maybe someone's going to have macaroni and cheese tonight, and then another person's going to have some chicken and rice. And then there's enough for one person to have, half a tuna sandwich. So I think kind of what you're talking about, it's like I get stuck in that kind of the trap of thinking like, oh, we should all be eating this one like cohesive meal. And sometimes you just need to eat the odds and ends.
Right.
So that's one thing. But I think what's kind of new is that we had talked about like a lot of cultures have kind of a meal that combines all of these things, right? Like I think it's kind of a new concept, a fairly modern concept to think that you're going to eat like something different every day, right? And I think that for me, one of those dishes that I make a lot is fried rice. So I'll make a big pot of rice, and I'll take whatever vegetables are in there, whether they're already cooked, so they're a leftover vegetable. I'll like cut up some whatever's in the garden as well.
I love it.
Like I'll find like 3 pieces of bacon that we didn't cook, and I'll mince those up, and I'll throw that in, and then fry a couple of eggs and mix it all together. And it's fried rice, and it's got everything in it. And I've used up all those odds and ends. So that's kind of my trick that I did last week. I do that often, but it was actually kind of fun to really like think like, okay, what would I not normally maybe put together? I had a little bit of leftover like pineapple chicken. I was like, that can go in,
Sure. I mean, I'm right. I'm at your table. Totally. I'm there because, bacon. I mean, sure, whatever. Go from there.
Right?
Whatever.
I mean, my family will pretty much eat anything if I put bacon on it. Even if it's just 3 pieces, I'm like, get bacon in there. Like, you're going to want to have that. It's going to be delicious. So I think that it is just kind of a new way of framing. Like, it's okay to eat the odds and ends. It doesn't have to be a perfect meal. And it's actually better to just, prevent the food waste. One of our coworkers who works on food waste prevention, she talks about the statistic that 40% of all the food produced in the US goes to waste. And 40% is mind blowing.
I know.
And even as much as you and I are really down to just like, we're going to eat whatever's in that refrigerator, food does still go to waste. And I think about all the folks who just haven't really had that kind of image in their mind of like, wow, that is a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. I think, going through the cupboards and the fridge, coming up with a meal like this, it's just, I think it's good. I don't know. I had a thought. I lost it. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was letting you finish. I'm like, I'm going to say this thing. And so it happens.
It happens. But yeah, definitely folks, shop your cupboards, shop your fridge, shop your cupboards, get down there. I like get in the back of the refrigerator. I'm like, ooh, there's a little piece of cheese in there. Like, let's have that, melt that on some chips. Like, we're good to go. So definitely shop the fridge, shop the pantry, get it before it goes bad.
Thank you. Good save.
Absolutely. Anytime, Pat. So one other thing I wanted to let you guys know, we are winding up our season of collection events. We have one more event coming up. It's going to be on the 24th. So not this weekend, but the weekend after. And it's in Rainier Valley, which was unfortunately canceled in September due to wildfire smoke. But we will be at the Rainier Valley Kaiser Permanente from 9 to 1 right off of Rainier Avenue. And we will be collecting small appliances, light bulbs, batteries, electronics, and paper for shredding. So 5 things. The things that we normally collect at collection events that we will not be taking is household goods, which you can take to lots of other vendors, Goodwill, Northwest Center is collecting again, and then styrofoam, which please, we offer super convenient special item pickup for free at your house.
It's free.
It's free.
So it works great. You just go online, tick, 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 load it up, and it happens. It just goes away.
Exactly. We'll come and pick it up on collection day.
And recycle it. Yeah.
Yes, and it gets recycled. So Star Recycle takes it and recycles it. So it's a really great option and much more convenient than driving to an event.
That's right.
So definitely check our website, seattle.gov/utilities beyond the cart. We'll also have links to that in our show notes as well. So
what's our challenge for next week? I forget.
Thanks, Pat. This is why we're a good team.
That's right. Gotta bounce it around.
So our weekly waste challenge for next week is compost hacks. So really great and innovative ideas for different kinds of containers you can use for collecting compost at your home. So Pat and I have got some really good ideas, and I'll try some out. And, we've got a lot of people at my house, so it's really good to have multiple containers because sometimes I don't get it out in time. So we'll be bringing you some images of that. And Pat, you might be sharing some ones that you have from the archives.
I do. When you do a lot of lunch and learns and outreach like we have over the years, you hear a lot of stories about this is how I do it and this is how I do it and so on. So there's some that we'll just talk about, and there's others I have pictures of and stuff. So we're going to have some fun with this one next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Compost collection hacks. I like it.
Compost collection hacks. So those of you who are watching, please send us pictures, send us thoughts that you guys have. I would love to hear it. Folks,
we'll give you a shout out.
Yes, please do. Please tag us if you send us a photo. It would be fantastic. We'd love to hear from you. So with that, thank you for joining us at our new time. And that's a wrap for episode 28 of Ask Evelyn. We are so glad that you guys can join us. Keep the questions coming, people, and thanks for tuning in. And with that, I'm Becca Fong. And remember, life's simpler with less stuff.
And that was a great show, Becca. Thanks. I'm Pat Kaufman. Remember to recycle right. See you later.
All right. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.